All of Britain's major political parties are now trying to prove their authenticity on one single issue: deportations. Whether it's Labour, the Conservatives or the Reform Party, they're all setting out their stalls, and in my opinion, none of them go far enough. This video isn't meant to be some kind of victory lap, but it is progress. We're going to talk about all of it, but I'm also going to tell you exactly what I would do to instantly reverse the boats. And I'm not just talking about stopping the boats, I'm talking about reversing them, having people get in small boats in England and sail back to France. Wouldn't that be a sight to see? Let's start with the Reform Party, because 2 days ago, Nigel Farage unveiled Operation Restoring Justice. And this is the Reform Party's plan to tackle illegal migration coming over the Channel. And there are some welcome parts of this plan. For example, illegal migrants who enter the country will be immediately detained prior to being deported. And the detention part is really important because it means that they won't be free to roam around English communities.
If you come to the UK illegally, you will be detained and deported and never, ever allowed to stay, period.
But it's not only that. Nigel has recently said that he's willing to work with anyone to secure returns agreements, and that includes the Taliban in Afghanistan.
I'm sorry, I've had enough of this. If you come from Afghanistan, you go back to Afghanistan. End of.
Let me be clear, what the Reform Party are offering here is by far the strongest position of the three major political parties. It's stronger than Labour and it's stronger than the Conservatives. Of course, if you look at smaller parties like the Advance Party or Homeland or UKIP, then you get a much tougher position. I'm talking about millions of people deported. But this is the strongest of the three major political parties, and yet, frankly, it's just not strong enough. We're talking about 500,000 or 600,000 people deported in the first 5 years. Okay, so that's 100,000 a year, approximately. But we know that there's well over 1 million people illegally in the UK at the moment. And it's not just people from small boat crossings. Okay, there's people who come on lorries still. There are an enormous number of people who just overstay their visas, right? So the problem is huge. We actually don't know exactly how big it is because the Home Office doesn't even keep track of whether people have left the country after their visas expired. So it could be 2 million people in the country. And when you start to look at that, and then you consider 500,000 over 5 years, you can see that, look, it's better than nothing. It's the strongest of the three main parties, but it's still not strong enough. And so I'm going to keep pushing until this position is stronger. Another sign of weakness that I see in the Reform Party's plan stems from Nigel Farage himself. And what do I mean by this? Well, look, let's be honest. The Reform Party is Nigel Farage, and Nigel Farage is the Reform Party. It's not some collection of thoughts. It's not particularly democratic. Whatever Nigel says goes. Okay? And if he's hesitant and uncertain and anxious, then so is the party's platform. Now, why do I bring that up? Well, I bring it up because when he delivered the Operation Restoring Justice speech, it was a little bit unclear to some of the journalists whether that plan included deporting women and children. And so over the next few hours, you saw a flurry of headlines saying Nigel Farage plans to deport women back to Afghanistan. Okay. And then yesterday, he clarified his position on this.
I was very, very clear yesterday in what I said. That the deportation of illegal immigrants, we were not even discussing women and children at this stage. There were so many illegal males in Britain, and the news reports that said that after my conference yesterday were wrong. Wrong, wrong, wrong. Okay,
and there you have it. Nigel Farage has made his position clear. The deportation plan will exclusively target men, not women and children, men. Now, I don't agree with that position for a few reasons. First of all, it's just sexist, right? If men and women should be treated equally, they should be deported equally. That seems to make sense to me, right? That's what the feminists would want. But not only that, I think that as soon as you show any kind of weakness, the human traffickers know this and they will take advantage of that weakness. So there's a real risk that you're now just placing women and children at even greater danger by excluding them from your deportations plan. But nevertheless, Nigel has at least made his position clear. We understand it. Or at least, so I thought, because when I looked at the news this morning, guess what I saw? Nigel Farage has changed his mind again. Clarified his position. He's clarified his position from that very, very clear video just yesterday to now saying that women and children will be deported. So I have no idea what's going on. It's just constant flip-flopping, right? And like I said, when you see someone who's hesitant and anxious about doing something, they're going to fall at the first hurdle, right? Because Nigel Farage is the Reform Party and the Reform Party is Nigel Farage, if he's nervous, if he is doing this on an unstable platform, if he's not comfortable with deportations in general, then neither is the party platform. It's that simple. Speaking of a lack of commitment, do you remember 12 months ago when Nigel Farage delivered that now famous interview in which he said deporting hundreds of thousands of people was a political impossibility?
It's a political impossibility to deport hundreds of thousands of people. We simply can't do it.
Now, at the conference this week when Nigel Farage was unveiling his plan to deport hundreds of thousands of people, a journalist actually brought up that very specific interview. And here was Nigel's response.
Nigel Farage, last September you told GB News that it was a political impossibility to deport hundreds of thousands of people and that we simply couldn't do it. What has changed your mind that you now believe that you can?
The political impossibility was deporting millions and millions of people, and that's where the argument had gone.
Did you spot the difference?
The political impossibility was deporting millions and millions of people.
It's a political impossibility to deport hundreds of thousands of people.
I get it, right? Newsflash, politician lied. Wow. But it was such a small lie, and it's on video, so it was very, very bizarre. He could have just said, oh, the political landscape has shifted, or I've changed my mind. But instead, he was pretending that that question was about millions and millions of people being deported when it wasn't. He said hundreds of thousands, and it's on video. You were the one sat in front of the camera. You would think you would remember that. Anyway, it comes back to this point about being uncertain and hesitant, and I'll tell you why this is so important. 12 months ago, Nigel Farage was saying that it was a political impossibility to do these kinds of deportations. He hasn't changed his mind. The British public have forced his hand. He was trying to shut down that discussion altogether because he just doesn't want to go there. Okay, he even says that in the interview. He says, I don't even want to go there. I don't want to get dragged down the route of mass deportations. He doesn't want to do it. But the British public are now out in force every single day, protesting outside these hotels, demanding that people get deported. So he doesn't have a choice anymore. He has to address it. And the reason that this is problematic is because, yes, he's delivered this plan and this speech, and it doesn't sound completely awful, okay, fine, but it all comes down to him. He's going to be the Prime Minister. And when there is a report sat on his desk of, oh, this man that we've sent back to, I don't know, Afghanistan, Syria, Iraq or whatever, something terrible has happened to him, he's going to lose his bottle immediately. He's going to just completely snap. He's going to say, all right, we've got to temporarily pause all deportations. And that'll be it. It'll never be unpaused, and you'll get all the way to the end of his term as Prime Minister, and then he'll just retire from politics, okay? Because he's too worried about his own reputation. And yeah, I guess I am saying he's a bit of a coward, quite frankly. Not always, right? He hasn't always been that way. You know when Nigel Farage is committed to a cause. He was committed to Brexit, and he campaigned on that for 20 years. This is not a cause that he is committed to, okay? He's arrived at this brand new position of doing deportations apparently in the last few months, okay? I just don't buy it. I do not buy it at all. He doesn't want to do this. And if someone doesn't want to do something, they will fall at the first hurdle. I promised in this video I would tell you how to reverse the boats, and I will. This is how I would do it, and it's very simple. Simplicity is key to making any plan work. Ask anyone who was in the military. They will tell you that that is in fact true. You want simplicity. The Taliban have already said that they're willing to work with the British government to take Afghan deportees back to their country. Okay, but what if we did an even bigger deal with the Taliban? What if we said to them, would you be willing to take all of our illegal migrants back to your country? In return, we'll pay you £1,000 or whatever amount of money is agreed upon per person that we send there. And the only rules are that you have to leave them alone for, say, 28 days, so they've got time to get out of the country if they want to. Now, what am I saying here? Am I saying that we're going to end up sending 1 million people to Afghanistan? No, because this is where the genius part comes in. Most of the illegal migrants in this country, probably all of them, do not want to be deported back to Afghanistan. So by the time you've sent 10, 15, 20,000 people there, they will look at it and go, oh God, they're serious. I really need to get out of the UK. And they're going to start fleeing of their own accord. If they've got passports, they're probably just going to go back to their home country, like say Albania or Pakistan, right? If they don't have passports, they're going to be going all the way down to the south coast of England and getting on dinghies to sail back to France. I'm completely serious. It would reverse the boat. This is also simple in a way that you don't have to try and secure 30 or 40 or 50 returns agreements with all of these different countries. You just do one. You just do one with Afghanistan. This is by far the cheapest and the most cost-effective way to do this because people will deport themselves. That's what you want, right? You want people to deport themselves. If we have to go and physically drag every person out of the country and put them on a plane and get them out, that's going to cost a fortune. But if we can encourage them to leave of their own accord with this looming threat of, hey, you're probably going to Afghanistan, that's better. That works for us. So I think this plan is really good. Of course I do. I thought of it myself. If you're French, you probably don't like the sound of this, but look, we've sent you £500 million and your police do barely anything to stop the boats leaving your shores and coming to the UK. So if you send us £500 million, we'll do exactly the same back, aka very little. And I know you're not going to want to hear that, but that's just the reality. I'm English, okay? I want these people out of England, and if that means them getting on a dinghy and going to France, so be it. I've said in the past, I don't blame people in Calais for just letting it happen because you don't want them there either. Well, we don't want them. So if they start getting on dinghies and going back to France, sorry, it is what it is. You then have to lobby your government to do something about it. Look, I think this is a good plan. Like I said, I thought of it myself, so naturally I'm going to be biased towards liking it. I mentioned this in a video like 3 or 4 months ago and everyone was like, oh, that's ridiculous. You can't do a deal with the Taliban. Well, guess what? The Taliban are saying, yeah, we'll work with you. Nigel Farage is saying, okay, well, I'll work with you. Even Keir Starmer is now saying, actually, I'd like to work with the Taliban too. Yeah. So things have moved on, and I think there'll be far fewer people now willing to tell me that this idea is ridiculous and I'm a monster for even saying it, because I think it is the best thing that we could do. Speaking of Labour and the Tories, I had a lot more to say in this video, but I feel like it's already going to be too long, so I'll make it brief. Labour and Keir Starmer have been putting out a series of posts over the last few days trying to prove how tough they are on deportations. They've been putting out like deportation propaganda, which is kind of hilarious for a left-wing party because they see the mood of the country. They know the direction this is going. The vast majority of people want to see illegal migrants kicked out of the country. And it's not just happening in the UK, it's happening in America and Germany and Italy and everywhere, right? Everyone feels the same way. Get these people out. The Tories, yeah, they've come out and said, oh, if you come here illegally, you should be detained and deported. Whatever, you were in government for 14 years. Nobody could take you seriously. You oversaw the most destructive wave of immigration that I think any country ever has had to deal with. The only possible exception could be 2015 with Angela Merkel saying, you know, we're schaffen das. Right, so I think that nobody's going to take the Tories seriously. Of course they're not. And that brings me to the point of why is all of this happening now? And I'll tell you why it's happening now. First of all, the British public, right? The British public have been out protesting. They've been making their voices heard. They've been putting flags everywhere. They're showing that we're not going to put up with this for much longer. So you better do something about this. We really are sick of it. And that's why all of these parties have shifted towards this one policy that dominates everything they're talking about: deportations, right? The second part is nothing else works, okay? Rishi Sunak came in and said that he was going to stop the boats or whatever. Keir Starmer, he was talking about smashing the gangs. Have you noticed he doesn't even say that anymore? Because it clearly hasn't worked. Whatever he was trying to do to smash the gangs, it isn't doing anything. This year is a record-breaking year for the number of illegal migrants who are crossing into the country. So whatever your plan was, it isn't working. Clearly, the only thing left to do is simply detain and deport people. There's nothing else. The gloves have to come off here. They have to go home. It's as simple as that. Right? And the last thing is, people are becoming, it kind of ties into the first point, but people are becoming way more radicalized. Like I saw a Sky News article titled, "Is it time to put gunboats in the Channel?" And this is something that I heard Asmongold mention in one of his videos. He said that eventually it's not going to be stop the boats, it's going to be sink the boats. And I think people are getting there, right? If you've got the Sky News talking about putting gunboats in the Channel, then yeah, that's the point that people are getting to. Because what's a gunboat going to do to stop a dinghy other than, well, I don't know, use its guns, right? So yeah, the mood is very obvious. It's very, very clear what people want. But it's not just that they want it, because they've expressed this will that they want lower immigration for the last 70 years. The thing that's changed is that people are now taking to the streets. They're visibly angry. They're acting on their anger. It can no longer just be contained by calling people far right or racist or whatever. These things aren't working anymore. So the government now feels a sense of desperation. It actually has to do something to tackle the problems. And that's why all of these parties are sort of changing their minds, changing their tunes. Never trust the Tories. Labour are a hot, wet mess. The problem with reform is Farage, as I've mentioned. I think he's a bit of a flip-flopper. He's trapped in, I don't know, 2013 or something. Very, very strange. Times have moved on. The sooner he recognises that, the better. And then you've got the smaller parties. And I would like to see one of the smaller parties, whether it's Homeland, UKIP or Advance. Obviously, I haven't spoken about them here in this video very much, but I would like to see one of them gain a stronger foothold. Looks like it's probably going to be the Advance party, right? Because Tommy Robinson has come out in support of them. Elon Musk has endorsed the Advance party. Now, if Elon Musk puts his money where his mouth is, Even if he just gives them $5 million, which to Elon Musk is nothing, absolutely nothing. Like, he will not even notice that. He'll just say to his accountant, yeah, send them $5 million. He'll have no idea which account it's even come out of. That is a huge amount of money in British politics. $5 million is just a complete game changer. It's like probably the equivalent of everything that the Tories get in a single year, just from one donation from Elon Musk. So that would make a massive difference, right? Then they could start paying more people, writing more policy, standing people up. So we'll see if that happens, but Advance could be a real threat to the Reform Party. We will see, especially if they start like, what Advance should do as well is they should start poaching or like absolving those smaller parties into the Advance party. So if they take UKIP and Homeland and bring those people on board into Advance, then they're going to have to accept some compromise. They're not going to get the exact position that they wanted. But if they can do that, then they'll create a really powerful thing. We'll see what happens, okay? Especially if Rupert Lowe joins them. Anyway, I'm rambling a little bit now. Thank you very much for watching the video. I'm sorry, I get the feeling this is going to be a long one. I talked a lot. We've walked a lot, haven't we, Pooch? Have you noticed, whenever Asmongold is watching one of my videos, as soon as Annie is in the shot, he's very confused. It's like dogs are a mythical creature to him that he's never seen before. Anyway, maybe in a future video I'll show Asmongold doing a few tricks or something. That'll probably blow his mind. Anyway, please do leave a like, comment, subscribe. Let me know what you think about my plan to secure mass deportations. Maybe you still think it's too harsh and too cruel. So be it. I don't. I think it's what needs to happen. It's what I would do anyway. Leave a like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you in a future video. Thanks very much for watching. Bye.